Hi, I'm Ben from ArduSat. Today I'm going to show you one of the new features in the ArduSat experiment platform. We've added the ability to create a type of portfolio of the experiments that you run, rather than just saving and logging the data. To do this, go over to the Experiments menu on the experiment platform and click Create New. One of the things that we're interested in measuring in space is UV light. So we're going to try to get a sense of what that looks like down here on Earth first. I'm going to enter a title for this experiment, My UV Experiment, and then do a description. Finally, I want to say whether I should make this experiment public or private. I'm going to make it public so that other people can see my results. Hit Create, and it takes us into the experiment builder. The first thing I'm going to do here is enter a hypothesis. My hypothesis is based on the background research I've done on UV light, and it tells what I expect to happen in this experiment before I've collected any data. What I'm going to test is whether or not the sunglasses actually block the UV light. So I'm going to start out with the demo set inside to make sure that the UV light is measuring pretty close to 0, then take it outside and make sure that it measures the sun's UV light. Then I'm going to put some sunglasses over it and make sure that they block the light. My hypothesis is that they should. When I've entered my hypothesis, I hit Save Changes and the experiment will be updated. The next step is to actually perform my experiment. I'm going to connect to the demo sat, which is measuring from all the sensors that the ArduSat Space Kit has. To do that, I click on the Connect tab and then select the serial port and the speed. I can just use the defaults right now and hit Connect. If I look down here in my sensors list, I can see all the sensor values changing, indicating that I'm getting data. Now I'm going to go over to the sensors view, and I'm going to hide everything except for the luminosity and the UV sensor. I'm looking at the luminosity sensor too, because that is another check that when I'm measuring spikes in UV, I'm actually seeing spikes in light as well. Now that I can see that I have this live data, I'm going to start logging my data. I'm going to use a 100 millisecond log frequency, which is about 1/10 of a second, and hit Start. Now my UV data is under the sun, and you can see how it's spiking with the sunlight. I'm going to put sunglasses over it now, and it goes down pretty close to 0, but not as low as it was inside. Now I've taken the sunglasses off again, and it's up above in the sun, and then we'll come back inside at the end of the experiment just to make sure that it comes back to 0. Now I go to data logging and hit stop, and that will conclude the data logging session. I'll go back to the experiments tab, find my experiment, and attach this data set to it. I hit the add data set button and look for my UV data. This is the data set I just created. I can see that it's added here. Now when I click on the analysis tab, it'll load the data that I just logged in the plots here. I can resize these plots to make better viewing, and then the other thing that I can do is click on the plus sign and view the data in this Explorer view. The Explorer view lets me draw a box down here on the map around the data that I want to zoom in on. And then it lets me move that in real time just by dragging this box around. So I can look down here and see that there was almost no UV when I was in the building. There was a lot of UV when I was outside. And then there was back down pretty close to 0, but more than inside when the sunglasses were over the sensor. If I wanted to export any of these views as an image, that export button lets me do that. This analysis shows that my hypothesis was correct. So I go over to the conclusions tab and I can write up a report saying what I did and that I proved my hypothesis correct. One other option that I have, if I know Python coding, is to use the Analyze Experiment Data with Python button. What this does is this launches a little Python environment that is preloaded with all of my data. And this lets me write Python code that would allow me to do more advanced analytics. This concludes today's experiment. Thanks for tuning in, and please check out our website for more screencasts and information about the ArduSat experiment platform.